You're such an asshole.
And what we're going to do, and you can look this up, it's called the Clarey Test. Just for those of you who don't know, the Clarey Test, named after yours truly, because I created it, it's basically 4 questions that I use to test whether or not somebody is a good person or not. It was originally designed to test politicians. Like, I noticed all these politicians, both right and left, not just leftists, but they fail miserably. They fail miserably at this test. And you want a score of 0. You do not want to get any points on this. However, I also noticed that it doesn't just apply to politicians, but people in general. If you ask these 4 questions, you give somebody the Clarey Test, and they score a 0, you want to talk to that person. You want that person to... They score a 4, they're parasitic motherfucking pieces of shit that you don't want to have anything to do with in life. So, the 4 questions, okay? 1, do they have a worthless degree? Again, revisiting it, it is the #1 time when you will see someone declare to the world, publicly, admitting publicly, of course they're unaware of it, whether or not they intend to be productive members of society or parasites. The next thing, do they come from rich parents? This isn't to say that if you do, you're guaranteed to be an asshole. I've just found a really strong correlation that if you're a spoiled little bratty cunt, mommy and daddy pay for everything, you have no fucking clue what it takes to work in the real world. Which leads us to question number 3. Do they have any real world experience? Did they work in the private sector? Did they actually have to put food and clothing and shelter and all that on the table? Never really did. And then finally, are they currently working in the, it's not just public sector, but touchy-feely, worthless area? Are they the artists? I'm an artist. Nonprofit education, academia, media, theater, art, all these where there is either heavy government involvement, heavy government subsidization, or you're just in the public sector, because it isn't real work. Except for 3 exceptions: military, police, and firefighters. I was just wondering how much you would charge to give your opinion about the new Labour leader in Britain, Jeremy Corbyn. Later worked at the Union. Okay, so no private sector experience. And then it goes on, activism expends. Okay, so he's avoided real work his entire life. There's nothing we need to know more than this. This is a lazy, parasitic individual. This guy had no intention. Now, admittedly, maybe his parents obviously did have an influence upon him, but this guy has never worked a day in his life. He has never produced 1 ounce of GDP. He has never made anything that anybody ever asked for. And you could see by his platform, he wants free everything. This man is your standard leftist. He's not a left, he's a socialist, a far left socialist. He believes in communism. He doesn't understand that shit has to be produced or made or manufactured. He doesn't understand the concept that people need to be paid. He doesn't understand the concept of profit. He just, free everything! And some of these, there's nothing special to say about this individual. It's kind of like, we can hate Barack Obama and we can hate people like this who are veritable parasites, but there's always been parasites in society. What you have to realize, what is really the takeaway, or what is really the lesson to learn from this, is the people that vote a guy like this in. He's elected by, roughly half your population. They believe in this dumb shit. They believe in a guy who is a fucking nothing, who's a loser, who's a nobody, who's done absolutely nothing in his life except ask for other people's money. Nothing really surprises me anymore, but he's just a waste of human life and human being. This guy will have never achieved anything. This is why, what's his name? Churchill will be forever remembered, and this guy won't. This is a child. This is a guy who's never grown up, who has always had either sucking off the tit of mommy and daddy or sucking off the tit of the taxpayer. And this is a worthless human. This is just a worthless human being. Don't let the gray hair fool you. This is a child who has never grown up. This is a spoiled little brat. This is kind of the lowest of the low. I have more respect for criminals. I have more respect for El Chapo. I have more respect for... Shit, I got more respect for fucking ISIS. At least they stand for something, diluted as it is. I'd rather have a beer with an ISIS individual than Jeremy Corbyn, this guy, because I just have more respect for him. This is just a whiner. Just a fucking whiny cunt.
such an asshole.
We have a request to do the Clarey Test on a man called Owen Jones, and I'll read you the request here. Hi, could you do a review of professional whiny cunt Owen Jones? The BBC and Guardian wheel the fucker out whenever they need the uneducated opinions of a know-nothing child man. He says, Owen Jones. So I don't know who Owen Jones is because I'm an American, but let's just look him up. We'll typically go to the Wikipedia page to administer the Clarey Test. Owen Jones. Yeah, oh, God, he's a kid. And he looks like a pussy, too. I can just tell by the looks. He's your millennial fuck. He's like Pajama Boy. He looks like he's 12. He hasn't lifted a weight in his life. Owen Jones is a left-wing British columnist, author, commentator, and political activist. All right, already he's got a score of like 3. This is methodically structured. Let's get serious. This is serious fucking work we're doing here at Asshole Consulting, assholeconsulting.com. Jones was born in Sheffield and grew up in Stockport, Greater Manchester, and briefly in Falkirk, Scotland. His father was a local authority worker and trade union shop steward, and his mother is an IT lecturer. 4th generation socialist. These fucking... Was it over in Scotland? His grandfather was involved in the Communist Party, and parents met as members of the Trotskyian militant tendency. I've seen this before, where the parents are leftist socialists, and to be truly independent-minded, the kid just swallows it whole. Does he come from rich parents? Not really. I mean, they're established. We maybe give him a quarter point. He's not the spoiled brat, elitist, Rhodes Scholar type. Unless I see something differently. He attended Bramham High School and before University College Oxford with a BA and a Master's of Studies in U.S. History. Okay, so worthless degrees. Got 1 point there. Prior to his media career, Jones worked as a trade union lobbyist and parliamentary researcher. Okay, so he has no private sector real-world experience. He currently works in a non-profit, touchy-feely, worthless, parasitic industry. He's a journalist. My point I'm pointing out here is you have a kid who has no real-world experience, has nothing to offer society, has not been a real man, has not probably even supported himself. He went from probably parents paid for everything, and then he went, straight into politics. This guy has no authority to speak on anything. Anything. This guy didn't work for a living. He's not a real man. And I'm not talking physically. I'm talking like in terms of being a real man and putting food on the table and supporting yourself. Why would you listen to this guy? Right? So he goes and he becomes a pontificator. And, if you're listening to this idiot, I mean, honestly, you're an idiot for listening to him as well. And he is a tool. The Guardian pulls him out, whoever pulls him out, the BBC. And they want some idiot who knows nothing. Right, because he's a communist, and the communists have a united goal with any terrorist. It could be IRA or the Islamic State, or radical Islam terrorists in general. And that is to destroy freedom, to destroy capitalism, to destroy the free market, to destroy Western civilization. He's got connections. Is he really gay, or did he just say that because... is he AstroTurf gay? Is he really gay, or did it just... Okay, he's the epitome of what happens when you have baby boomer parents. Like, once one generation of crappy parents is established, it just becomes future generations of crappy children. This is the byproduct of what happens when you have communist parents and the state. This is it. This is the child of communism. Worthless, talentless, propagandist, and I don't even know if he really is gay or not. If he even thinks he's gay, maybe he's trying to say he is gay, so that, I don't know, he becomes more... Because this is what your social justice warriors and leftists do. They don't get by on their credentials. They gotta create this bullshit so that they're unique and differentiated from their fucking mind-numbing, equally boring and common and cookie-cutter sausage-link communist, socialist, worthless scum. So I really do wonder if he's gay. I mean, it's just... Anyway, just another... They're so common you can start dismissing them. You can. I don't know why you'd listen to this kid. So that's Owen Jones. He's unmentionable, is what he is. There's nothing exciting about this guy. So.
You're such an asshole.
Dear asshole, how much would it cost for a YouTube Clarey test on Trump's proposal of Rex Tillerson for Secretary of State and what your opinion is on the matter? Now, Big Oil's biggest guy to the Secretary of State position. Active in the Boy Scouts of America for most of his life, he earned the rank of Eagle Scout. Sorry guys, sounds like a really good dude. Tillerson received a bachelor's degree in civil engineering in 1975. He didn't major in worthless subjects. And by the way, you want a low score on this. You want ideally a score of 0, but very few people have that. If he came from Boy Scouts of America, he probably didn't come from a really rich family. But he certainly doesn't get any points because he majored in civil engineering, so that's good. Oh, here we go. Boy Scouts of America, Distinguished Eagle Scout. His father was a BSA, Boy Scouts of America executive. Him and his wife are Christians. His father was a modestly compensated administrator for the Scouts. Okay, so they did not come from money. They're not like Hillary Clinton. Yeah, Rex Tillerson is just basically a better person than you. He's a better person than me. So, and we're lucky to have him, as far as I can tell, we'll find out, but we're lucky to have him as Secretary of State. Best of luck to all of you. Toodles.
You're such an asshole!
Hey everybody, got a video request to do the Clarey test on Nigel Farage, the guy who came to prominence in the past 2 weeks or so because of the Brexit. So let's take a look at Mr. Farage. He got a full point because his dad leaving him made it pretty hard. So he only has half a point. Didn't go to college, which is better than going to get a liberal arts degree. He went right to work. So not only does he not get a point for a worthless degree, he has real work, so he gets 0 points there. But I would say, yeah, 3/4 a point because he's been hanging around in the public sector a while, and I'm going to bet he's going to become a career politician. He almost has to be by now because he's on the center stage. But still, you should have term limits and get the fuck out. Once you do your duty, get the fuck out. So we're going to go 0.75 plus the half a thing, so he's at 1 1/4, which I will immediately lower if he gets himself out of politics and then goes retire somewhere. But yeah, so pretty good. The guy worked a real job. Probably didn't have the easiest upbringing. Certainly didn't have a spoon, put in his mouth like Justin Trudeau or Barack Obama or any one of these dipshits we got over here in the North American continent. Go with a 1.25, which is actually quite a very good score for politicians. That's a very good score. Most politicians are 3 or higher. The only ones that do score perfect scores, we find out, based on what we've done so far, are American mafia bosses. Nigel Farage, him stepping down as the UKIP leader. And I'm like, why the fuck did he do that? That was my original response, but then when he gave his speech and explained why, it's like, wow, that's a true statesman. Because that is what it should have been. That's the whole idea of term limits. That it shows you, and people are saying, well, what's his Clarey score now? Well, now his Clarey score, it dropped by a full point, or 0.75, so he's like down to 0.5. So this guy's like almost the ideal person. He did exactly what politicians should do. You serve your country, you serve your fellow man, you are a statesman, not a politician, not a career politician, and then he left. Hey, wow, there is some quality, regardless of that person's politics, there is a quality and caliber and a trustworthiness of the very few people that do that. Nigel Farage teaches us a very important lesson where he says, I have served my country and I want to go back and live my life. And that is a man who really has his act together and really knows what life is about.
You're such an asshole!